It happened to someone who knows someone you know, and you're next. Urban Legend, the 15th-year anniversary to the day. It came out September 25th, 1998. And it's the 40-year anniversary of the Stanley Hall Massacre. This film is notoriously known for, it's like the poster child for being the studio's answer to, Hollywood's answer to Scream. And instead of the killer mimicking horror movie cliches, they substitute that with urban legends, contemporary folklore passed on as true stories. They juggle the characters so well. The characters are so well written, all the dialogue's spot on. It was written by a guy who was only about 24 at the time, and so yeah, the late 90s wave of movies like The Skulls and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this was right in there. And I love they really capture like the Midwest American university setting of college setting and campus, really great architecture. Let's get on to the cast. What really makes this is another great thing is the great cast led by Jared Leto, Rebecca Gerhart, Tara Reid, Joshua Jackson, who was in a lot of movies in the late 90s, who was even in Scream 2 and The Skulls and this. He was just bouncing around everywhere. Then obviously Tara Reid before she was on American Pie. And then obviously Danielle Harris playing the gothic role. Loretta Devine almost ruins the movie. But, oh, and this is the best one. Robert Englund as Professor Wexler, a red herring. They really do up the red herrings. The story's so great. It really doesn't get that much love from non-horror fans, but all true horror fans really respect this. It's a cult classic at this point, including the opening scene. It's definitely one of my favorite opening scenes. I've seen a lot of horror movies. This was definitely in my top 10. I'm trying to do my top 10 opening horror movie scenes, and this is definitely right up there. Because they just bring you right into that world of terror, and you could just totally feel it. That gas station out in the middle of nowhere. And Brad Dourif playing the character actor. Such an awesome scene, and then they just scare you with the urban legend of the guy in the back seat. That's one of Stephen King's that he also always mentions. Which is an awesome urban legend. Let's see what else. And then there's the great scene where Robert Englund is teaching about urban legends, and he's like, as I said, class, this story is nothing but an urban legend. It's just awesome to see him play like a different temperament type of character compared to Freddy Krueger, you know? And he does just such a great job. Ever since then, he's basically been typecast and hasn't gotten the greatest roles, but this is one of the ones that stand out. Because he basically put on the same performance in Eric, which was the Phantom of the Opera in the late 80s when he was cast. And anyway, and you like how it's like they go to the library to look up in the encyclopedia before like the full takeover of like high-speed internet to look up the urban legends. It just adds to the creepiness of it. Oh, and the death scene with Joshua Jackson's death scene with the pulley mechanism and the oak tree, that was fucking insane. Every time you watch it, then like the rope's tied to the car, and then she drives it, and then it goes up on the noose, and the noose tightens and brings them all the way up into the tree. It's so badass. And you have to mention the microwave dog scene for sure. That one's so badass. But anyway, like I was saying, I'm not going to really go into the story that much. Everyone's seen it a million times by this point, and then once it gets to the ending, if you haven't seen it, I give it an A-, but I'm going to talk about spoilers in the ending for people who have seen it. So Spoiler alert ahead coming. So, once it gets to the end and Rebecca Gerhardt's revealed, and the more times you watch it, you could totally pick up on how the story makes sense, and you really get that, why she's the killer with the whole thing, and it really gels together, and the whole story comes together the more you watch it. But her performance is like almost over the top in the end at some parts, but it was well written, some of the lines, but some of them were just a little too over the top. And then, yeah, then there's like the after the ending scene, after she's supposed to die and she's still at the campus, and she's like, yeah, I believe your story, but here's how it really happened. It just creeps everyone the fuck out. Just a perfect ending for this movie, for this type of urban legend type of movie, you know. And oh, it'd be so fucking hot together, Paul. But they don't use. But here's one of the backdraws why I give it an A-. It should be an A, but they use no horror props, and you don't get that payoff. Like, they cut every death scene down so it wouldn't be as grisly, but the thriller and the suspense of it and the dialogue is what really makes the film, the suspense of the story and the mystery of it, of the whodunit factor. But they have like no props on set, basically. It's just like they would cut the death scene and then they'd like throw the actor in there with corn syrup on him, but doesn't take away from it too much because how well written it was. So anyway, I pretty much said all I have to say about this 15th year anniversary. I've always wanted to review this great franchise. The writer of this came back to do the sequel. He hasn't really done much ever since, except for write on that TV series Ugly Betty. But anyway, this was JBM for Mr. Creepshow 9 in September 2013. Thanks for watching the review. I'm out.